What's up, y'all? This video may cut off just because my storage is full, whatever. I was trying to say this earlier, but the camera started messing up, and then just outside influences, and yeah, got in the way. But what I mainly wanted to touch on, because I recently just had a discussion with my toddler, and it was mainly about his behavior, because as your parents, grandparents, whatever, parent, foster parent, whatever, as long as you're a guardian or a parent of a child, a toddler, you know that toddlers are toddlers and they be toddler. My toddler has a lot of personality and a lot of he's very sensitive, which means he's also very emotional, and so um, his act out looks like it's behavioral, but this is what sensitive and overly emotional people do. They just act out because they are overly sensitive and they're overly emotional, which means they're overly stimulated and they no longer know how to vocalize or use verbiage, and they just act out. That is my child. Okay. He also is on the spectrum, um, the higher functioning spectrum, but as with a lot of people on the spectrum, they are naturally sensitive, and a lot of them can be emotional. And you couple that with a little bit of lack of communication, you're going to get it act out. And so I was just trying to, we were having a discussion, and I was telling him about himself, as I do with my children, because I am not a coddler. And a lot of it has to do with my upbringing. Um, well, you don't know, but the first 10 years of my life was, it was, it was chaotic. Yeah, I lived life like a normal 90s baby, but I also experienced things that a child shouldn't experience. But what I've learned as I'm growing up and have grown up, that a lot of us 90 babies have experienced it. So we kind of brush it off our shoulder and we're just like, that's life, that's how childhood was. But it did not affect me. It might have here and there. I might have a little thing, my nervous system might be a little off or whatever. But at the end of the day, it made me who I am. It made me the parent who I am today. Now, I say this because I'm looking around and I'm talking to other parents here and there as I can. And I'm learning that it's not just my child that acts the way that he acts. It is literally this new wave of children. And the new wave of children has come from us 90 babies. This is why generational trauma and things like that is so important to learn and unlearn, because that is hereditary. It's hereditary. It's generational for a reason, because it's hereditary. It's in the DNA. DNA can be altered even if it's already been created. You don't need a scientist to alter DNA all the time. You just need trauma. And I'm learning that a lot of these children that have these act outs and behavioral issues and yada 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 is probably because the DNA that was created to use them was contaminated. I know it's probably a harsh word to use, but whatever. Trauma, contaminated, same thing. And I'm also learning that when you have a sensitive subject, an emotional subject, and a sensitive child, an emotional child, sometimes the best thing to do is not to coddle that, is not to reward that, to not engage with that. Because all you're going to do is end up teaching it that it is okay, the subject, the child, that is, it's okay to do that. That, oh, if you cry and you throw things and you act out and you scream and yell, it's okay, just here. We'll just find something else to know. Nip that in the bud. Tell that child, that boy, that girl, whatever, that this is not okay. It's not acceptable. This is not what we do. You don't go in and you don't coddle it. Yes, you can go in and say it gentle, because gentle parenting is now a thing, whatever that is. But at the same time, you also need to be firm and strong in what you're saying, so that the child knows that you're real, that you're being for real. Because when I'm seeing also in the community, the society, that a lot of these children that are acting out, y'all seen them all across the internet. Children that backtalk their parents, hit their parents, slap their parents, yell at their parents, oftentimes red rum their parents, all because the parent has denied the child access to something, or is trying to discipline the child in something. we need to go back to a time where disciplining our children was okay. Maybe slightly hurting their feelings are okay. I say that because you have to push them off into the world, and the world is not going to coddle them the way that you are coddling them, or you think you're coddling them. The thing is, you have to raise your children the way that the world is not going to raise them, but also raise them the way that the world is not going to raise them. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm saying is, if you coddle a child, keep it up under your wing for so often and then push it off into the world, it's not going to know how to act. And the moment that someone in the outside world tells them no, or redirects them to something, or tells them to do something they don't want to do, yada, 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 they're going to act out. Case in point, while we see all these people that go out into the public and commit these badass crimes onto innocent people, i.e., the school shooters, i.e., the public nuisance that goes into fucking banks and grocery stores and shit like that and does a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff. Those people, 9 times out of 10, those type of people had everything handed to them. They had love. If they didn't have everything handed to them, they had love. They had someone in their corner supporting them, yada yada yada. But the moment they went out into society and tried that mess in society, society said, "Oh, what you doing, baby? We don't do that here." They acted out because every time they go and they dig deep and they find out why little Kin and little Karen did what they did, it's because someone denied them something. And then it reverts back to childhood, and then somehow it snowballs into mental health. Stop blaming mental health on everything. First of all, stop that too. Everything is a mental health, and I know that for a fact because I have my own mental health stuff, and I'm not out here doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff.